colleague, how can I help you who are neurodiverse in your, how can I be a better colleague? It can be, if you can share any tips on, I don't know, for example, how can I structure an email in a certain way, or how can I communicate to someone who is neurodiverse?
So I would say there's two sides to this. On the one hand, I'm very much in favor of what's called universal design, which is all about creating an environment where anyone can thrive by just implementing accessibility from the beginning, so that, at the outset, the barriers to flourishing are fewer, if not non-existent. But also, with neurodivergence, no two people are alike. And so one of the reasons why I struggled for a long time with being public about my neurodivergence is because I didn't want people to just Google dyspraxia and then make judgments about who I am and what I'm capable of, because no two people, even with the same label, no two people are the same. And so there's a lot of things that you might find on the Google definition that I don't relate to, and actually my diagnosis wasn't even exhaustive. They just said, your neuroprofile looks this way. We can't quite say definitively that it's this, but these are the main characteristics. So in that sense, it was not entirely conclusive. But I say that to say that assumptions, I think, can affect how we approach people, and if you already have a sense of what someone is capable of, that's going to affect your attitude towards them, and that's going to affect, for example, the kind of work that you offer them, or you just have this idea of what someone can or can't achieve, and I don't think that's right. So I think it's important to be tailored to the individual to an extent, so ask that person what they need, and be willing to have that conversation about individual adjustments. But definitely, I would say attitudes are a starting point, and just, again, to just, I don't want to press too much on language, but it does matter. So neurodiversity just means, people have different brains. So neurodiversity includes people who aren't neurodivergent. Just like ethnic diversity, it's not just about, one ethnic group. That just means there are diverse ethnic groups. So the same way with neurodiversity, it just means that this person's brain works differently to mine, and it doesn't mean they're any less capable of great work. It's just they need certain adjustments to help them be the best versions of themselves in the workplace. And for example, one thing that I forgot to mention earlier was there's this thing called spoon theory, which is the idea of energy in terms of spoons. And so let's say, for example, I wake up and I've got 5 spoons of energy. Certain tasks might take 3 spoons, some tasks might take 1 spoon, some tasks might take all 5. And so I have to allocate those spoons, that energy, to the tasks that are in front of me. And sometimes the more spoons I use today, that takes from the amount of spoons I have left for tomorrow. And so I think thinking about supporting your colleagues is maybe just having a chat with them about their capacity, and then setting targets based on that capacity. And that's not to say that you should make things easier per se, but it's not about diminishing the quality of work at all, and it's not about unfair advantages, but it is about removing barriers to neurodivergent people being able to thrive in their work. And so I think spoons I find them helpful to think about. And so, just like maybe start learning the language of neurodivergence and help people, kind of speak their language, speak our language, but always remembering that no two people are alike. But if you start at the outset with the recognition that people are just different, same way we're different outside, we're different on the inside, and it doesn't reflect on someone's intelligence they understand or process the world a bit differently than I do. I think that goes a long way. And yeah, just in terms of like, so there's the normal colleague stuff, then if you're like a line manager, what I've found helpful in previous roles when I was working for someone other than myself is having like I think they call it the mental health and wellness action plan. So it's something that you discuss at the outset, and this is part of like your onboarding process where you get to know the person that you're managing and their needs, make it a safe space for them to feel comfortable to disclose their needs around this. Like for example, I sometimes get overstimulated when there's like a lot of noise, a lot of lights, and just a lot going on around me, and so in those moments, I do my best work when I can work in a quiet area. So things like that, just being able to have those conversations ahead of time, and they say the best time to prepare for crisis is before you're in one. So what can you do to make it so that the person that you're managing or the colleague that you're working closely with has a plan in place for when they feel a certain way? Can they go and work in a quiet area? Can they work in a booth or something like that? So I think, yeah, that's just one example that comes to mind. I'm sure there's loads of different ways, but it depends on the individual's needs. But that's just one of the things that I think universally that can be applied. Like if everyone has some kind of like wellness action plan in place from the jump, from the beginning, then I think that's a good way of making it clear that you are welcome here as you are, and we will support you to be your best self at work by accommodating you where we can. There was also something else I wanted to mention, but it's escaped my mind. Maybe I'll come back to it later.
Yeah, definitely.